TFL EV is brought to you by Flow Charger, maker of reliable, high-quality charging stations for your electric vehicle.
Hey everybody, I've got a fun one for you today because this is the best new electric car you can buy today. I'm not kidding, it is that good. This is the 2022 Mini Cooper SE, and it's not only the best, but the cheapest new electric car you can buy today. So this starts at under $30,000, or at least it did for the 2022 model year, and it has been truly fantastic over the last year or so of ownership. We bought this car in summer of 2021. It is now, of course, summer of 2022, so we've had this car for quite a long time, and over that past year, we've come to learn the good, the bad, and everything in between. And at the end of this video, I also want to tell you probably the worst part about the car, because there is one thing which is a fairly major drawback, but overall, it is so much fun, and it's so much car for the money. All right, let's go ahead and do some performance testing on the Mini and see how quick it is from 0 to 60 and then in the quarter mile. Now, we are at 66% state of charge, and I love how in this central display they actually list the state of charge, so you're not having to like futz through some menus like other electric cars. So 66% state of charge. I'm going to go into the sport mode, and we will go ahead and turn traction control off. All right, 0 to 60 in the Cooper SE in 3, 2, 1, floored. All right, kind of gentle off the takeoff, and then you hit 26 miles an hour, and this thing really takes off. There's 60 miles an hour there. That was 0 to 60 in 7.03 seconds, which is pretty much right on the money of what Mini says it will do from 0 to 60. Passing power is exceptional. So it doesn't sound like a huge amount of power in a straight line, right? 7 seconds, but in the real world, it feels a lot quicker than that. Let's do it one more time. Let me try I don't know, let's try green mode. I'm just curious to see if that'll slow it down at all. So green mode, 0 to 60 in 3, 2, 1, floored. Oh, that feels pretty similar. I think when you go into green mode, regardless of the actual setting, it gives you all the power. 7.4, so maybe just a little bit slower, but if you floor it, you floor it. Except in green plus mode when it limits you to like 50 some miles an hour, it really tries to keep you nice and slow. This electric Mini is based on the gasoline model. And typically when a manufacturer goes from gasoline to electric, there's something lost in the equation. They never turn out all that well, but in the case of the Mini, they've done a phenomenal job because the Mini and the BMW engineers came together and they created a little bit of a Frankenstein, which works brilliantly. So it's based on the F56 gasoline Mini, front wheel drive, similar suspension setup, similar architecture, but it's got the powertrain from the all-electric BMW i3. And the i3 is a vehicle which has been around since first model year was 2014, so they've really had a lot of time to work all of the kinks out of the i3 platform and out of the i3 drivetrain. And when they stuck it in the Mini for the first time a couple of years ago, it just worked. It was fantastic. Now, of course, the i3 is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. The Mini is a front-wheel drive vehicle, but a lot of the components are fairly similar underneath. Now let's talk about some of the horsepower, some of the performance numbers. 181 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque, and this is a 32.6 kilowatt-hour battery. Now the battery does live underneath the vehicle, and they did have to raise the suspension just a little bit for the electric Mini compared to the gasoline model. So it does sit just a little bit taller than a gasoline Mini, but they've done a very good job kind of masking it. They've changed some of the bodywork a little bit to make it look, you know, not like a lifted Mini Cooper. From a design standpoint, this is one of the best parts about this Mini. It's just fun. So many electric cars are designed to be slippery and smooth and aerodynamic, but that means that they kind of lose some of the fun and quirkiness that you can get with a gasoline design. And at least with the electric Mini, they have brought a lot of that stuff into this model. So it's got stuff like the ghost stripes here. Now it was perfectly clean, and then we drove it out here to our little test facility, and of course it gummed up a little bit, but these stripes are just fun. They're not a true multicolored stripe on top of the body color. It's like an opaque design, but it looks great, and they're called ghost stripes, which is cool. Similar design down here along the side. And then we get to my favorite part of the exterior design, which has to be the roof. The tri-color roof design. So it goes from dark blue to light blue to black. And this is not a wrap. This is a genuine paint on feature. This car has to go into a special booth where like this robot sprays this paint on, but everyone is different because it's impossible to match the blending from car to car. So every design is just a little bit different. And then we come to the back and you've got full LED taillights with the Union Jack design. And this one also has a few little odds and ends which make it kind of fun. Like it's got the little plug design there on the left side, let you know it's electric. It's got some of the yellow badging on the Cooper S logo. And these will change a little bit from vehicle to vehicle depending on whether or not you spec it like that. So we keep track of our charging and on level 2 this will charge somewhere around 7 kilowatts, which means you plug it in when you get home at night. And if you plug it in at like, I don't know, 6 or 7, based on our driving, it's usually full by midnight at the latest, sometimes 10 or 11 p.m. So really is super easy to keep charged using even a standard 32 or 40 amp level 2 home charger. Now it did come included with a level 1 dongle. I'm not even sure I know where that's at. Oh, we do have it. I wish that Mini did what a lot of manufacturers are doing, where they give you both level 1 and level 2 connectors, so you could just use this charger and then not be dependent on having to install a second one at home, or you know, when you're out and about, having to depend on finding an actual charger versus just a plug. But that is what Mini has decided to do. Now the floor does move around a little bit, and then back here you can of course fold the seats quite easily. And whenever you need to transport anything large, that is certainly the first thing you do. And then the parcel shelf does come out fairly easily as well. But charging on level 2, plug it in at home, even for a few hours, and that'll typically be enough time to get all of your charging done from your daily drive.
In terms of fast charging, this Mini is capable of peaking at about 50 kilowatts, and they say 0 to 80% state of charge in about 36 minutes. Now, we have taken one road trip from Albuquerque, where we bought this car, up to Boulder, Colorado. It was like 600 miles, so you can check out that video. It was doable. It was kind of a long drive because 50 kilowatts is not the fastest peak charging speed, although it does hold like 40s deep into the pack, which is good. All right, let's go ahead and do a quarter-mile test. Let's go ahead and change our GPS performance timer to quarter-mile. Race mode. Change. 1/8 of a mile, quarter-mile. We've got our 4,000-foot airstrip here, and let's see how it performs. So I'm just going to plant the accelerator, going back into sport mode, traction control off, and we will see how it does in 3, 2, 1, full throttle. They've really programmed this car well to minimize any and all wheel spin on a dry surface from a dig. There's 70 miles an hour. Coming up on 85, there's 85 there. 93, 94, 95, and that's the top speed. So 95 miles an hour is as quick as the Mini Cooper STU will go. And we did the quarter mile in 15.63 seconds at 92 miles an hour. And like I said, the top speed is right at 95, and it pulls fairly strong from like 50 to 70. 70 to 90 is certainly a lot more gradual, and then it just barely creeps up to that top end of 95. But the handling on this car is really where it shines. Now there is quite a bit of body roll, but the steering is so incredibly direct, and it just is such a fun car to toss around. You can get a little bit of off accelerator oversteer as well. You just pitch it in, and the rear end will come around nicely. And then with regen on full, it's a pretty much a one pedal driving experience. So I can let off the throttle even here at about 60 miles an hour, and it slows me down quite quickly and will bring me to just about a complete stop. If you are on a flat or a slight downhill, it may creep ever so slightly, but it is pretty consistent in coming to a full stop with just using the regen on high.
Now, that kind of fun quirkiness of the Mini continues on the interior. This one, as equipped, was about $37,000. So it started at $29,900. This one was $37,000. It's got quite a number of options. But then keep in mind, it did apply for the full $7,500 tax credit, and then we also had some state incentives as well. So all in, we were like mid-20s, which is pretty fantastic, maybe high 20s. For what you get though, it's a really good value, because what Mini has done when they reintroduced into the States in the early 2000s is they brought in a lot of luxury to the lineup. So there are a lot of luxurious features in here, like the dual pane panoramic sunroof. So you got one in the front, you got one in the rear. This opens up nicely too, lets a lot of sun, lets a lot of wind in, gives you kind of a fun in the sun experience. I love these seats. These seats are so cool. It almost looks like a wool design. You got contrasting white stitching along the edges, and the seats are phenomenally comfortable. Big bolstering along the bottom, big bolstering along the side. These also have the little thigh extensions, which is a nice feature from premium vehicles, but the interior quality in here is top notch. I know people kind of complain sometimes, oh, Minis are just mini BMWs, but that's great from an interior quality standpoint because everything you touch, this stitched leather steering wheel, absolutely beautiful. The quality of the buttons, the knobs, the controls all feel top tier, easily up to the level of a luxury manufacturer. Now from a tech standpoint, this one, like I said, 37 grand, this was I believe a Signature Plus model, has this big almost 9-inch screen, and it's a very functional display. This does use a couple of different control methods, so you can of course use the little spinny knob down here, or the way I tend to do it, I just like to click with my finger. So it is a full touchscreen display, satellite radio, it's got FM, AM, of course, Apple CarPlay, all that connectivity there, and then of course kind of brought down from BMW's little preset buttons. You can hover your finger over them and see exactly what the little presets are set to. Now below that, dual zone automatic climate control, and then below that we've got controls for the heated seats, the recirc, the AC, all of it. Now this model does have the push button start down here in the middle. You still need a push button to start it every time, but it is pretty self-explanatory. And then over here we've got the button to change the regen settings, so you can go from low to high, and then sport controls over here. Now some kind of fun stuff on the interior of the Mini, like this little rim around this big central screen will actually change colors depending on what you're doing to it, so it'll adjust to the radio. The whole interior has various different ambient lighting, which is also completely configurable. Now, some things I don't like about the interior, you do sit very low and it does have a very high waistline, so it can actually kind of be tricky to see the front of the car when you're parking and making maneuvers. Although the car is very small, which is great of course for parking, it's a little bit difficult to get a sense of where the front of the car is. And then I would like a slightly taller window, just so I've got a better view out the sides when it comes to like road tripping and then cruising along in the countryside. It'd be nice to have a bigger window. Now there really is only one major downside with the Mini Cooper SE, and that is cold weather winter range. It's rated at 114 miles according to the EPA in a single charge. And that is plenty. Over the last year of driving in summer, in fair weather, even if it gets, 50, 40 degrees, it's just fine. I've never come close to experiencing range anxiety. And I bring this down to like 3-4% pretty consistently, but even at those low state of charges, it just doesn't stress me out because it's so incredibly predictable with how it discharges, and you know exactly when you're going to be in danger of running out. And in the last year, we have never run out of electricity once, so that has not been a problem whatsoever. But when it gets to like the 30, 20, 10 degree territory, which we do hit here in Colorado, that range goes down from like a realistic 114, even 120 miles, down to like 90 or 95 miles it seems. And that's where things can get a little sketchy when it comes to like commuting to and from the airport, because it's roughly 45 miles or so to get to the airport from the office, and we're doing these trips. This is one of the go-to airport commuters. So cold weather range does have a major effect on kind of how you drive it in the winter. Now we have upgraded the wheel and the tire on this Mini. So the original wheel was this really cool plug socket design, which I loved. It was a 17-inch wheel, but it came standard with a summer tire, and here in Colorado that just does not work in the winter. In all season you could probably get it by with, but with a true summer, no way. So we went ahead and bought the 16-inch wheel, slightly smaller wheel, with this Michelin all-weather tire, and this thing is a game changer in the snow. This is, I would call, like 70% of a true winter tire. It's actually snow rated, and it has actually improved the ride quality. So giving you a little thicker sidewall has made this vehicle ride better over the stock wheels. I do think you have a slight hit in range. We're gonna do some testing on that just to verify that, but this is a pretty cool tire setup, and unlike a winter, you can also run this all year round. So I'm not even sure we're gonna go back to that plug style wheel. We're just gonna keep running these this summer and see how they do in the Colorado heat when we get to like the 90, 100 degree days. Overall, this Mini has been truly great, except for that winter range. And by the way, this does have a heat pump. Except for that winter range, it's a fantastic commuter. You can really push it well past 100 miles. In the summer, 120 miles is very doable. I think they're a little conservative on this 114 mile range estimate, but we drive it on the highway, we drive it in the city, we drive it in the mountains. It goes all over the place, and we have a ton of fun in it. Now let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, this has been Tommy with TFL EV. We'll see you on the next video.